So starting today, today is going to be officially the first day of fourth quarter. And starting today, pretty much every morning meeting, we will have a kickoff assignment, which is just like an EOC review. And today was the first day, so hopefully you guys got to answer at least some of those questions. For this one, it was just the top half of the paper, numbers 1 through 8. You can even see in Schoology, it says do the top half of the paper today. And then I think it says tomorrow you're going to be doing the bottom half of the paper, which you guys have this paper, the attachment in Schoology as well for you to kind of work on it ahead of time if you need extra time or something. But just make sure you hold on to this. Make sure you do it every single day, because at the end of the quarter, it's going to be worth 2 quiz or test grades. So it should be an easy way to raise and boost your grade at the end of the quarter, because we're coming into the last bit of it. And it's just a last minute EOC review, because at the end of the quarter, for Algebra 1 and Algebra 1B, you guys take the Algebra EOC, the end of course exam. That is the test that you have to pass in order to graduate. You have to pass the Algebra EOC as one of your graduation requirements. So make sure you give your best efforts on all of these review things. And if you ever get stuck, have a question, you can ask me in class or send me a message later. But it's just last minute review because it covers the entire school year of everything that we've done so far, even with your old teacher as well. So to go over those answers, here they are, numbers 1 through 8 there. That's all you were doing for today. I know the fill in the blank ones, they might have been a little challenging since you didn't actually have words in front of you to choose from, like a word bank. But those are your answers there. So as long as you understand and it makes sense, then you're good to go for the fill in the blank ones, because when you go to take the Algebra EOC, they're all multiple choice, so you won't ever have to kind of fill in the blank like that, just using your brain and digging deep in there. So do you guys have any questions on numbers 1 through 8? Would you like me to go over any of those, explain any of them? I can do it in the class together as a group, or you can send me a message privately and I can go over that with you. Just make sure you hold on to all of this stuff. You're not going to be submitting it daily. You're going to wait until the end of the quarter and then submit everything all at one time. So make sure you do it day by day. So then last minute when you go to submit it, you don't have to do a million things all at once. You'll just have, all you'll have to do is just get all of your papers together in a pile, take pictures, submit it, and then you're all done. Is everyone good with 1 through 8? Does anyone want me to go over any of those with you guys? Is everyone good? Can I get a thumbs up if you guys are good? Or write something, tell me that you're good, so then we can get started on the assignment or our notes for today. Okay, because I want to make sure you guys have enough time to also write that down if you need to check your answers. Alrighty. Okay, so I see lots of you guys saying you're good, good, good. Okay, so I'm going to keep on going here with our notes for today. If you need me to go back to those answers at the end of class, I can. If I went through it too fast or something, or you didn't get to finish going through it all, I can go back. But like I said, those questions, this paper here that's on my screen, this is on Schoology as one of the attachments, like where you would find your notes. This is also one of them. So you have the questions. I just gave you the answers to check your work. Just make sure you show your work and then you're good to go. Okay, so our notes for today, we're going on to our next topic here. It's factoring difference of squares. So let's do a little warm-up review from before. So this is just kind of refreshing your memory from previously here. So your directions, warm up, simplify the following polynomials. We're just going to use the FOIL method, first, outer, inner, last. Let's go through and do those really quickly. So first, x times x is x squared. And then our outer, x times -4 is -4x. And then our inner, 4 times x is +4x. And then our last, +4 times -4 is -16. And then from there, we need to combine like terms, the two terms in the middle. But these two terms here in the middle, they end up actually canceling out. So then all you're left with is x squared minus 16. Okay? And we're actually going to have a little bit of a pattern like that, but let's go through and keep on working them. Next one. First, 5m times 5m is 25m squared. And then outer 5m times -1 is -5m. Inner 1 times 5m is +5m. And then 1 times -1 is -1. Again, combine like terms in the middle. These two here, they actually end up canceling out. -5m plus 5m is 0. So all you're left with is the first and the last term, the 25m squared and minus 1. Okay. Last one here, first times first. So we get 4a squared. And then our outer. Multiply your numbers and then put the variables next to each other. So then we get a -6, whoops, -6, and then alphabetical order, A, B. Then our inner, +6AB. And our last, multiply your numbers, add the exponents, then we get a -9B squared. Okay, combine like terms. These two here, same exact terms. One's negative, one's positive, so they cancel out. So we're left with 4a squared minus 9b squared. Okay, so let's look at our pattern really quickly here. I'm going to erase all of these arrows on our jumpings. So we've got x plus 4, x minus 4. These are pretty much the same thing. X, 4, x, 4. The only difference is there's a plus sign, minus sign. So that's why we end up just pretty much multiplying the first terms and the last terms, because the outer and inner, they end up canceling out here. So let's look at our next one. We've got 5m1 plus minus. Okay, so it's all the same except one's a plus sign, one's a minus sign. That means your two terms in the middle, the outer and the inner, cancel out. So multiply your first, multiply your last. It kind of lets you go through it a little bit quicker because this step here in the middle cancels out. Again, last one. 2a, 3b. 2a, 3b. Plus sign, minus sign. That's the only change going from the first set of parentheses to the second set of parentheses. The terms are the same, it's just we got a plus sign in the middle and a minus sign in the middle. That means the two terms in the middle, the outer and inner, cancel out. So then you get your final answer there. That's kind of your pattern with that FOIL method there. Okay, so then you get your resulting product is called a difference of squares. Okay, and then notice for all of these here, all of your answers, they all have a minus sign, minus sign, minus sign. We're going to show you a little pattern with that later on as well. Okay, so let's keep on going here. So we know how to do the FOIL method. Today we're actually going to be going backwards kind of with it. We're going to be going from our answer, and then we're going to be going to our question. I was just kind of showing you that little pattern there to help you with understanding. So steps for factoring a difference of squares. There's our 3 steps here. First, make sure you have an actual difference of squares. So there must be a subtraction sign. And you can square root both terms. Square root is just something times itself, and it's the two things, and it's the same exact thing times each other. Okay, step 2, use the following rule to factor. A squared minus b squared equals. And then again, we've got our 2 sets of parentheses. Remember, the first term, last term are going to be the same since we have a's and b's here. So I've got a and a b, and then A and B. Remember, the difference in our question from our practice above is one was a plus sign and one was a minus sign. That's really all it is there, from going from your question to your answer there. So square root of A squared is A times A. Square root of B squared is B times B. So that's where we get the A's and our B's, and then we got a plus sign and a minus sign. And then step 3, check your work by distributing. You can just do that FOIL method to check your answers. All right, let's go through and do some actual practice with some numbers. It's gonna be a lot better to practice with numbers. And there are 2 pages to this. There's 32 questions total. I'm not gonna go through all of them because that's too many questions. We're gonna go through some basic ones together as a group, and then you can go back and practice on your own for extra practice if you need more help together or on your own. But our directions here, it says factor each difference of squares. Check your work by distributing. If a polynomial cannot be factored, write prime. And we're going to get one of those in our examples today, and I'll show you how or why it's prime. So the first one we'll do together is number 1. So we have a squared minus 4. So we have a minus sign here. That means we're going to have our two sets of parentheses. Our first term, we have a squared, square root of a squared. What times what is a squared? A times a is a squared, okay? Now we need to think here, square root of 4. What times what is 4? Same number or the same thing times itself is 4. Well, here, 2 times 2 is 4. And then remember the pattern like I said before in our examples. Now we need to have a plus sign and a minus sign, okay? Go through and FOIL it out. Check your work. I'll give you like 30 seconds to check it. Go through and FOIL this. First, outer, inner, last. And your answer should match our question, the a squared minus 4. I'll give you like 30 seconds. So hopefully you got to go and FOIL it out. So let's go do that. A times a is a squared. A times negative 2 is negative 2a. 2 times a is plus 2a. Positive 4. These two terms here cancel out. So all you're left with is a squared minus 4. And this matches our question. So that means we checked our work. That means this here is correct. And we checked it just to double check and make sure that we know how we're doing this. Okay? All right, let's keep on going. That was number 1. Let's skip around. Going on to number 5. Next one we'll do is number 5. So we've got k squared plus 25. Okay? Let's go back to our steps here. Our steps. It says in step 1, it says there must be a subtraction sign and you can square root both terms. Does number 5 have a subtraction sign? No, it doesn't. There's no subtraction sign. It's a plus sign, okay? So that means we cannot factor this. So that means for this instance, you cannot factor it. Our answer is prime because this is a plus sign. It needs to be a minus or subtraction sign in order for us to factor it. Okay, and then that's pretty much your answer for number 5. Let's keep on going. And if I'm going too fast or you have questions, type them in the chat or tell me to slow down. But I'm going to keep on going. Next one we'll do is number 9. Okay, so we have a subtraction sign, so we can factor this out. Here's my two sets of parentheses. Let's think, what's the square root of 16a squared? What times what is 16a squared? The same exact thing. What can I write here and here? Same thing. Same thing. What am I going to write there? What times what is 16? Same number. Think of two numbers that multiply to get 16. Yep, 4. Perfect. Let's go ahead and put our 4. 4 times 4 is 16. What about the a squared? What times what is a squared? I see 4a times 4a. Perfect. So, yep, a times a. That's how we get our a squared. Perfect. Okay, now let's go on to our next one here, this 121. This and this, these are going to be the same thing. What times what is 121? Same number. What times what is 121? And then test it out in your head. Like I'm sure you guys all know. We already know 4 times 4 is 16, so it's got to be bigger than that. Go on to the next one. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. Keep on going until you get what times what is 121. And I see someone wrote 11. And yep, 11 times 11 is 121. Perfect. Those are the same thing. We got a 4a, 11, 4A, 11, so they're matching perfectly. And then all you have to do, make one of them a plus sign and the other one a minus sign, and then you are all finished. You could FOIL it out and check your work. Your answer, if you were to FOIL it, is going to match the question. And if it does, then you got it correct. Okay, let's keep on going. That was number 9. Going on to the next page. How do you guys feel about this so far? I know we've only done a couple of questions so far, but give me like a 1 to 5. How do you guys feel about this so far? With this couple of questions that we've done together, like a 1 through 5. 1 is like, oh my gosh, help, what's factoring? 5 is like, I feel like I could teach it. And we've only done a couple of questions so far, so I don't expect your confidence levels to be like a 5. But if it is, then perfect, go you. You can keep on typing it in. I'm seeing your answers, your responses. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. We've only done a couple of questions, and that's pretty good. We've done 3 questions, and you're already at like 3.5, so that's really good. Let's keep on going. We got number 13 is the next one. We have a subtraction sign. Let's go ahead and factor this out. Here's my first set of parentheses and the next set of parentheses. We have the x squared, y squared. If it helps, you can break this down as well. Just look at your first set of variables, the x's. What times what is x squared? What times what? Remember, it needs to be the same thing. Let's just look at the x squared. What is the square root of x squared? What times what is x squared? It's got to be the same thing. Remember, we said for the a squared, a times a is a squared. So tell me, what times what is x squared? If, I'll write this here, if a times a is a squared, then what is x squared? Awesome, I see x times x, perfect. So let's go ahead and write that down, x and x. So this is if you need help breaking it down. You can do it like this too. So we just did our x's. We're still on the first term, so it's going to be connected. Let's look at our next one. We've got the y squared. What times what is y squared? So now if a times a is a squared, what times what is y squared? Y times y, perfect. Okay, so if the x squared and y squared is in our first term for our question, that means our answer needs to also be in the first term as well. So here's my y and the y, they're touching. And then you can double check. Xy times xy is x squared, y squared. All you do is just add your exponents. Okay, let's keep on going. Sorry, my dogs are crazy. They're in the background. Our next one, we've got 1. What times what is 1? Same number. What times what is 1? One times 1. Yep, perfect. So here's my 1 and a 1. And then we need, what signs do we need here? Do we need 2 plus signs, 2 subtraction signs, or is there 1 plus sign, 1 minus sign? What do I put for my signs in between? Are they going to be, tell me what they are. Plus and minus, and I see some people typing +1, -1, perfect. So here's my plus and a minus, and then that is it. That's your final answer. You can FOIL it out, check your answers. Once you FOIL, it'll match your question. That means your answer here is correct. Okay, let's keep on going. That was number 13. Going on to our next one here, we'll do, let's do number 17. I messed it up on my notes here. Number 17. So we've got a minus sign. Here's my 2 sets of parentheses. Our first one. We need to have two things of the same thing here and here. So we need to think, what is the square root of k to the power of 6? Okay, so we've got the variable k. So I know I need to have a k in both spots. So here's my k, here's my k. So let me zoom out here and let's look at our last example. Our last example, number 13. So we had an x squared. Our power was 2, power of 2. What's half of 2? 1. So technically we have a power of 1, power of 1. And then your next one, your y. Your exponent is 2. What's half of 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1. So power of 1, power of 1. But remember, the exponent of 1 is invisible. So technically it's there, we just don't see it. But what I'm getting at is, for number 17, to help us with this one, let's look at our exponent. Our exponent here for the k to the power of 6. It's an exponent of 6. What is half of 6? Or 6 divided by 2 is 6 divided by 2. Not sure if you guys are just not typing, but I'm sure you guys know this. But 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I did the 6 divided by 2 is 3, okay? So for my answer here and here, I'm going to now put an exponent of 3. Because k to the power of 3 times k to the power of 3 is k to the power of 6. All you do is add your exponents there. Okay, so there's our first term. Let's go on to our next one. You just pretty much cut this exponent in half. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so that's how we got our exponents here. That's essentially what we were doing for all the previous questions. You just don't see those ones. This one, you can actually still see your exponent because it's a bigger number. Next one. What times what is 16? Same number. What times what is 16? I see a 4. Other people typing. Plus 4 minus 4, perfect. So here's my 4 and 4. And then we already know for our final answer, we need to have, one of them needs to be a plus sign and one of them needs to be a minus sign. And then there you go. That is it for number 17. You could go back and FOIL it, check your work. And then if it's correct, your answer matches the question, then you did it correct. All right, that was number 17. So let's go on to our next little section here. I'm going to zoom out. We have examples with the GCF. That's greatest common factor. Greatest common, factor. Okay. Your directions. It says look for a GCF first, then factor the remaining difference of squares. Check your work by distributing. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to do here. It's pretty much the same thing we've been doing, but there's just one extra step in the very, very beginning. First one we'll do is number 21. Okay, so I'm going to just do one set of parentheses first, and we're going to take something out of both of these here. Let's look at just our numbers. What can we divide both of these numbers by? 2 divided by what? And 72 divided by what? What's the biggest number I can divide both of those by? The 2 and the 72. This is what we did before spring break. So you got to kind of remember with factoring. 2 divided by what? And 72 divided by what? What's the biggest number? And remember, the easiest way I told you to do this is look at your smaller number, look at your 2, and then list all of your options. We can only do 2 divided by 1 and 2 divided by 2. So check and see, can you also do 72 divided by 2? And the answer is yes, yes, we can. So let's factor out a 2. And let's go ahead and fix this up. Since we know we can't take out an n, you need to have the variable at every single term in order to take it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then 72 divided by 2 is, so then we get our negative 36. Oops, let me fix that. Negative 36. Okay. And then here's my n squared. I can't take it out, so I'm going to rewrite that n squared. And remember, 1 is invisible, so I erase that 1. Okay, so this is what we're going to be factoring here at this step. This is kind of what we've been doing. So pretty much this 2 is the only thing that kind of looks a little bit different compared to our first set of questions that we were working on. You're not going to lose it. You're just going to bring it down. So here's my 2, and then here's my 2 sets of parentheses. We're factoring this. This is going to go here and here. And then we just brought this 2 down next to it. Okay, so what can I do for my first term? What times what is n squared? What times what is n squared? N times n, perfect. So here's my n, here's my n. And then our next one, we've got our 36. What times what is 36? Same number. What times what is 36? Six times 6. I see other people typing. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. Six times 6, perfect. Yep, 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, so now we've got an n, 6, n, 6. All we have to do is put our signs. Let's go ahead and do that. Here's my plus sign, here's my minus sign, and all of this here is your final answer, the 2, and then parentheses n plus 6, and then parentheses n minus 6. If you were to FOIL this out, first you would FOIL the n plus 6, n minus 6. FOIL here first outer, inner, last, and then your very last step would be distributing the 2. Once you did all that, your question would match your answer up here. And if it does, then you did it correct. Okay, so that was number 21. Going on to our next one, let's do number 25. Number 25, we need to factor something out first. Let's factor something out of this here. So here's my parentheses. Now let's look at just our numbers. 24 divided by what? And 54 divided by what? What's the biggest number I can divide both of these by? 24 divided by what? And 54 divided by what? Look at your smaller number first and think of all of your options. 24, you can do 24 divided by 1, 24 divided by 2. Keep on going. Look at all of your options. And then the biggest number you should also be able to divide by 54. And so I see 6 and a 6. Perfect. We can divide both of those by 6. So let's take out a 6. So let's look at our numbers. 24 divided by 6 is 4. And then 54 divided by 6 is, negative 54 divided by 6 is negative 9. Okay, now let's look at our variables. We've got an a squared in one term and a b squared in another term. We can't take those out. They have to have the variables at every single term. So I'm just going to rewrite a squared, b squared. Okay, so this is what we're factoring. Just like we did for the last question, I'm going to bring down the 6. And then here's my 2 sets of parentheses for my final answer. Let's break this one down first. What times what is 4a squared? Well, if you want, you can break it down and just do the numbers first. You can do what times what is 4, same number. What times what is 4, same number. Or if you want, you can do the entire term all at once. What times what is 4a squared? But if you're struggling with it, you can do piece by piece. Do the numbers first, then the variables. See some people typing. So what times what is 4? Well, we've got 2 times 2 is 4. And then you can go on to your next part, the a squared. What times what is a squared? A times a is a squared. So 2a times 2a is 4a squared. Let's go on to our next part. This 9b squared. Here and here. Break it down with just your number first. What times what is 9? Or what's the square root of 9? Same number. Well, it's not 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we got 3 times 3 is 9. So, yep, we got a 3. So here's my 3. Here's my 3. We're breaking this one down because it can be challenging. And then we're going on to our variable part, the b squared here. What times what is b squared? I need to put it next to the 3. I see someone wrote plus 3b minus 3b. So, yep, b times b is b squared. Okay, so we've got our answers here. We just need to put in our signs, and then we can double check. Here's my plus sign. Here's my minus sign. And then if you were to check and multiply these two together, positive 3b times negative 3b. Positive times negative is negative. 3 times 3 is 9. B times b is b squared. This matches this here, so that means we did it correct. And I think this is the first one where we have a variable in both spots, so it might have been a little bit weird, but it's still the same thing. You're still following that same process there. Okay, so that's our answer for number 25. All of this here. And remember, if you were to FOIL it out, first FOIL, F, first, outer, inner, last, and then your last step would be distribute the 6 on your last step. And then you would get the same thing up here. If you check your work, that means this in the box is your answer. That would be correct. Okay, so that's number 25. Let's go on to hopefully our last one. Hopefully you guys feel a little bit better about this. Number 29. Okay, so we're going to factor something out of this first. So here's my one set of parentheses because we're factoring something out of it. We need to find our GCF, the greatest common factor. Let's look at just our numbers first. What number can I take out? 36 divided by what? And 9 divided by what? What's the biggest number I can divide both of these by? And remember, it's easier if you look at your smaller one. So look at the 9 and think we can do 9 divided by 1, 9 divided by 3. We can also do 9 divided by 9. So I see lots of you guys are writing 9 and 9. So ask yourself, can you also do 36 divided by 9? And the answer is yes. Yes, we can. So let's go ahead and factor out our 9. Okay, now we can divide 36 divided by 9. We get 4. And then 9 divided by 9, negative 9 divided by 9 is negative 1. Okay, now let's look at our variables. Can I take out the variable p? Can I take out the variable p? Remember, this is from before spring break, this factoring part. I see some people saying no. Remember, in order to take out a variable, you need to have it at every single term. Do we have the variable p at every single term? Here's your first term. Here's your second term. This is before spring break, so you might have forgot. And yes, we have a variable p at every single term. That means, yes, we can take out the variable p, but how many p's or how many variable p's can we take out? If you remember, I told you your little tip, your little hint for this is you're going to take out the smallest exponent. What's our smallest exponent we can take out? And this one might be invisible. What exponent of p can I take out? 1, perfect, because it's an invisible 1. You take out your smaller exponent, the invisible 1, from the second term there. So we're going to take that out, and we're going to divide. Your quotient rule with exponents is just subtract. Okay, we're taking out an exponent of 1. So here's my variable p. We've got this one divided by this one here. So p to the power of 3 divided by p to the power of 1. P to the power of 3 divided by p to the power of 1. All you do is subtract your exponents, so then we get p to the power of 2. So here's my power of 2. Okay, so here's my next one. This one here, this one here. What's my new exponent for p in the second term? So now we have p to the power of 1 divided by p to the power of 1. What did I say we do with the exponents? You subtract them. So now what's my new exponent for p in the second term? 1 minus 1 is 0, right? Okay, I'm going to erase some of this here so we can see it a little bit better. Let's clean this up. I'm going to erase my exponent of 1 because we don't need to see it. It's invisible. And then this p to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is really what? This is before spring break. Dig in your brain. Anything to the power of 0 is really equal to what? Anything to the power of 0 is really equal to 1. So here's my times 1. And then you can clean this up even more. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. So I just erased that 1 there. I kind of just did all my cleaning up in one step there. Okay. So we factored out this 9p. This is what we're going to continue factoring. So here's my 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to bring down this 9p. And let's look at our first one here, this 4p squared. What times what is 4p squared? Let's see if you guys can do it all at once. What times what is 4p squared? Think of what times what is 4 for the number, and then what times what is p squared for your variable, and then just put it all together as one big answer. What times what is 4p squared? If you want, you can break it down for your numbers. What times what is 4? What's the square root of 4? 2 times 2 is 4. And then we got our p squared. What times what is p squared? Yep, I see a 2p times 2p. Perfect. So here's my p. Here's the p. 2p times 2p is 4p squared. Okay, so this matches our first part. Then we're good to go. Let's keep on going. Going on to our next part. This 1. What times what is 1? Same thing. Or what's the square root of 1? 1. Perfect. Here's my 1. Here's my 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Awesome. It matches. Okay, we need a plus sign and a minus sign. We got 2p plus 1, 2p minus 1. The only difference is a plus sign and a minus sign. That means we did it correct. You can also FOIL it out to check your work. First, outer, inner, last. And then distribute that 9p to check it to make sure you did it correct. Okay, but that is pretty much it for today's notes. Yep, that is it. Number 29 was the last one together. So obviously there's a lot of questions I skipped. I didn't go through all of them. If you still think you need more practice and need more help with it, I've got all of the answers. I show every single step. It's all on Schoology already for you. Please practice them more today because tomorrow is your assignment on the same exact topic. And I'm not going to give you guys the answers. You guys have to actually go through it on your own. So the notes, that is your time to practice it. And if you want more help, you can message me or just check that answer key. But that is it for today. Tomorrow we'll also have another warm-up like the one we did earlier from today. Tomorrow we're going to be doing the bottom half of this paper, numbers 9, 10, 11. That's going to be tomorrow. So if you want, you can even do it today and kind of get it over with. But some of you joined late. Make sure if you joined late, you get these questions 1 through 8 done for today. And then you can ask me for the answer key. I can share it with you for the 1 through 8. And then tomorrow we'll do the second half. But that's it for today. If you have no questions, you can go ahead and sign off, and I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow for our assignment. Good job, guys. Have a good day. Make sure you write something in the chat before you leave, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And I'm still here too.